VRL News presents the stories they don't want told. A 4-part docuseries on Israel and the IDF. Episode 1. The risks associated with exposing or documenting Israel and the IDF. March 13th, 2002. Italian photojournalist Raffaele Cirello was reporting in Ramallah on the occupied West Bank, along with RAI journalist Emilio Rizzucci and his cameraman. They were trailing a group of Palestinian gunmen. Then, an Israeli tank appeared roughly 200 yards down the road. Cirello stepped from a building and raised his small video camera towards it. A burst of machine gun fire came from the tank's direction. Cirello was struck 6 times and died shortly afterward. The IDF initially said it had no information that journalists were present and warned that anyone entering the closed military area was endangering themselves. The Israeli government claimed it may have looked like Cirello was in a firing position. Months later, the IDF said there was no evidence that an Israeli army unit had fired towards him. Rizzucci and several others witnessed the shooting. With video evidence and witness testimonies, Israel still denies any involvement, and more than 2 decades later, no one has been held accountable. Fast forward to April 8, 2026. An Israeli drone strike hit Mohammed Rashad's vehicle west of Gaza City. Mohammed and another person were killed. The IDF later acknowledged targeting Mohammed, alleging that the Al Jazeera correspondent was involved in Hamas weapons production and planning attacks against Israeli forces. 73 days later, June 20, 2026, another Israeli strike hit a house in Barouj refugee camp. Mohammed's brother Ahmed, an Al Jazeera cameraman, and 2 other people were killed. The IDF acknowledged targeting Ahmed and alleged that he was a Hamas sniper. They left behind Samaya, Mohammed's daughter and Ahmed's niece. At only 11 years old, she was already reporting from Gaza, wearing a press vest and learning to write stories with her father. Now she continues following the path of both her father and her uncle. 2 brothers, one a correspondent, the other is cameraman. Together they documented life in Gaza. September 22nd, 2024. Israeli soldiers enter Al Jazeera's bureau in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. They handed Bureau Chief Walid al-Amari a military order closing the bureau for 45 days. Cameras were confiscated and the office was sealed. The IDF said the bureau was being used to incite and support terrorism. Al Jazeera rejected the allegation, but the raid followed an earlier and far more destructive incident. 3 years earlier, on May 15, 2021, journalists and residents inside Al Jalal Tower in Gaza City were given roughly 1 hour to evacuate. The 12-story building housed Al Jazeera, the Associated Press, other offices, as well as residential apartments. Israel said Hamas military intelligence assets were operating inside. It accused Hamas of hiding behind the building's civilian media presence and using it as a human shield. The Associated Press said it had seen no indication that Hamas was present and called for Israel to release its evidence publicly. But as these incidents show, the danger does not end with journalists on the ground. The offices, equipment, and infrastructure that allow the reporting to reach the world can also be raided, closed, or destroyed. On the next episode, Israeli settlers, the occupation, the violence, and the support from Israel and the IDF. So make sure to follow TMVRL News so you don't miss the next episode. Stay safe.